you need to pivot, you need to do something different, you need to go somewhere else. Like, it's going to be so hard. Marketing is what Canadians do, so you need the Canadian experience, blah, blah, blah. That is true, so it doesn't mean that's not true. But where I'm going to right now is how sometimes you also need to, close the noise, shut down the noise. Not that you're not... Guys, yay! Welcome to my first video for Evie the Brand Chick, and I'm super excited for so many reasons. And ignore my voice, this is not the best of my voice, but I told myself I wasn't going to procrastinate anymore and I was going to shoot this video despite my voice stress. So if you're on my channel, thank you so much for sticking around. If this is the first time you're seeing me, my name is Ejiro Vanessa Ahosumere. I like the sound of my name. And I am Evie the Brand Chick. I posted a video which was a let me reintroduce myself video. So if you haven't watched that video, go back to watch the video. It kind of like introduces me, all about me. I have been working corporately for 15 years and I have been doing branding. It's my first love, is what I do for the past 13 years, officially in 2026. So yay! And of course, for those of you who also know me, I do run like a content platform with my very close friend, which is called Discover Me. It's more mom, it's more lifestyle, but this is about what I do, my first love, which is brand management. And as an immigrant, I just wanted to share my stories, see how I could be of help to people, my journey, which I am still navigating. So this platform is going to be definitely very realistic. I'm gonna be real with you guys, like let you know most of the things I've done, most of the hurdles I've faced, how I'm navigating life here, how I have had to also kill the noise, which is very, very important. So there's going to be a lot of conversation, really, really interesting ones, but there's been time I had to kill the noise. And I'll tell you this, before relocating, like I said, I've been that corporate chick, I've been that corporate brand chick for years. All I've done was work in multinationals back in Nigeria. So for those who are non-Nigerians, I'm Nigerian. I relocated to Canada 2-3 years ago, and prior to that I had always been that corporate multinational brand chick. Had done my brand management, and that was all I knew. And then fast forward to when I was ready to come to Canada, and everyone kept on saying, hey, you need to transition, you need to pivot. Yeah, no transition. You need to pivot, you need to do something different, you need to go somewhere else. Like, it's going to be so hard. Marketing is what Canadians do, so you need the Canadian experience, blah, blah, blah. That is true, so it doesn't mean that's not true. But where I'm going to right now is how sometimes you also need to, close the noise, shut down the noise. Not that you're not taking learning from what you're saying, you are, but you're saying that this is what people are telling me right now. How am I able to close the gaps for myself? Do I see gaps, and how am I able to close that gap? So literally, that's like a lot of the things we'll be discussing in Evie the Brand Chick. But for the purpose of today, I'm going to be sharing with you four key things that I see a lot of immigrants sleeping on, right? And I think that these things cost us a lot of jobs. And note this, I'm going to share with you things that are simple, very basic, but sometimes we miss it. I'll take that again. They seem to be simple, they seem to be so basic, but yes, we miss it. And that's the problem. So 4 key things a lot of immigrants like myself, like you out there, right? And if you're not an immigrant like us, if you're not so new into Canada, you might still learn. You know what they say, there's no knowledge that's wasted, right? So now, what are these things? So number 1 on the list, you. Yes, you. Have you set job alerts? Yeah. Have you? Now, and I'm going to give this context, and I do understand. You're like, mid-level professional, probably been working for the past 5-6 years or even more, right? Past 10 years. And you've moved to Canada, but prior to now, you had a fantastic career back home. It could be Nigeria, it could be anywhere, right? And you had gotten to the level or the stage of where you were always poached on LinkedIn. So there's been the pride, that pride that, when you update your job and you're like, LinkedIn got me the job. I see you. Yes, right? So that's always been your reality. That's always been it for you. And da 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 da. I think I'm going to put in the sound at this part. You come to Canada and you expect it to be the same, but it's not going to be the same. You've always been the one that you know people as you keep on working. You know what they say, the community is really small. I've always worked in, back home it was called FMCG, which is fast moving consumer goods. Here in Canada is referred to as CPG, which is consumer packaged goods, right? So you know how that industry is kind of like small. So you have the Unilevers of this world, you have the Reckitt of this world, you have like the Beiersdorf for this world, you have Nestle, you have like the different guys, the different companies in that phase. And back home, the truth is people move. So it's really a small world. You could have, started off your career with someone and you guys are climbing and the person has maybe moved to Unilever and there's a role. The person really knows like, oh yeah, I know we're so good with, maybe it's a capability role or it's like a customer marketing role, and he knows how fantastic can sound and reaches out to you. Bam, you're in Canada. You have a limited network, you just moved into Canada, you really don't know a lot of people and you're trying to land a job, or you're even still back home and you're trying to land a job before you get into this country. So you need to set up job alerts. It's very important. There are a lot of job platforms. I'm probably going to do a post where I talk about platforms, but there's LinkedIn, there's Indeed, there's Glassdoor, there are different platforms. This worked for me. I didn't even do too many platforms, to be quite candid with you, right? I mean, I was mostly on LinkedIn, I was mostly on Glassdoor, and I was mostly on Indeed, and that was about it for me, right? So just set up a job alert, and I'll tell you why you need to do so. When you do that here in Canada, and I tell people, if I see a job posting, I might be wrong, but I stand to be corrected. If I see a job posting that is more than a week, sometimes or 2 weeks, I don't bother. I really don't bother applying, because as at that time, there's been like so many applications that have gone in. They don't stay too long. Here in Canada, they don't stay too long when they're recruiting. So in probably 3-4 days, trust me, they maybe gotten like the best of the candidates that they need, and people do apply, right? LinkedIn will tell you the number of people that have applied through LinkedIn. Note that not even everyone applies through LinkedIn. People even go directly to the website. This same job posting was probably on Glassdoor, was probably on Indeed or whatever other platform. So if you think you're saying, oh, over 200 or over 300 applications on LinkedIn, multiply by that by the number of other platforms, right? So this is why it's so important for you to have a job alert, because when you do that, the moment the job is posted, you get that immediately. One of the things I did was to put like the first 24 hours or 1 day, and I check it. So that's the first thing. The second thing you also need to do is to identify, to say, okay, this is my career path. So I'm going to use an example. I've always been in brand management. Those are the roles I'm looking towards. And I do like a notification to say, alert me when you see brand management, roles. It could be a brand manager. It could be a marketing manager. It could be a senior marketing manager. It could be a senior brand manager. Sometimes the terms are different. I also want to stretch myself. So it could even be a business development manager, right? I just want to try and stretch myself and see how these things go, right? So do all that. So when something pops up in different companies, you get it. So I don't want to overflog that point, right? So we're good. High five. Now, the second thing you need to do once you see that, hey guys, don't forget, you're looking for a job. So you need to prioritize that. Number 2 on the list is you prepare your resume immediately. Now, see, look at my hands. I'm drawing your ears. Those of you that do sharpshooters and you use one generic resume for all the jobs, what's the color of your problem? And then you wonder why you're not getting called. Like, what's the color of your problem? Why would you use one resume to apply for a senior brand manager in Unilever and use not the same resume to apply for a senior brand manager in Henkel and use the same resume to apply for a senior marketing manager in Wendy's? Make it make sense. These 3 businesses are quite different. And don't forget, Unilever might be looking for someone who plays in personal care, or looking for someone who is in hair care, and then you could have Henkel looking for someone in laundry or detergent, and then you have Wendy, that's food. So you cannot expect the same resume to do the jobs, right, for these different businesses. And that's where a lot of us feel. Now, I understand. It's tiring. And I know someone's looking at me and saying, you can't relate. It's my 100th, resumes I've had to prepare, or the 100th application, or I keep on getting like the no's and I'm done, I'm tired. I get you. I understand. And I was also there before, right? But I'll tell you this, the work you put in to get that job, you will not be willing to run out of that job when it comes. But a job that you're just throwing resumes for, when you get it, you're probably just looking for the next best thing after that. And that is one circle you don't want to be in. So take your time. Your resume is you. You're selling yourself. And know this, there are so many other people that are not immigrants applying for the same job, are probably currently within competition. And one thing you need to know is that when people are hiring or hiring managers want to fill in a role, they literally want someone that can hit yes. I'm sure we've heard this severally. At some point I hated the sound of that, but literally hits the ground running. They want someone that is as close to that role as possible, either working for a direct competition, so they definitely understand like the category. And for those of you who are probably new, this is corporate brand chic, so I might be using a lot of like marketing terms or brand management terms, but this is also applicable for any other field. It could be finance, it could be anything, but you get the drift of it has to be as close as possible to the business you want, because that's what makes it different, right? Now, so prepare your resume and ensure that when you're preparing your resume, you consider and factor the ATS. And that's why you need to have those customized resumes to fit in. Because these days, sometimes some people get as much as 4,000 applications, and how do you expect one human to go through all? No, they wouldn't. So I'm sure most of us are not new to the word ATS, but if you are, it's an automated system in which the AI is being leveraged, and there are certain factors and criteria that are put in, and where they just kind of like rank resumes based on those factors, and they're able to say, oh, these are like the top 10 resumes, and they match by maybe this matches 99%, this matches 97%, this matches 98%, and these are your top 10. So that's what that does for you through the automated process. So the automation does that, and then there's a human element. Don't get it twisted. There's always a human element as well, right? I would dedicate a post where I really talk about what goes through or what happens, behind the scenes or behind the doors during the recruiting process. Also note, I am not an HR professional, right? But this is just from my experience as being at some point being a candidate, and also being a bit close to this now that I've been working corporately here for almost 2 years as well. Now, I talked about customizing your resume. Now the third thing I'm going to say is, and that third thing has A and has a B, and a lot of people sleep on this, which is very important: referrals. I'll take that again. Referrals. It is very, very important. And I know you're wondering, or you're saying, what is she saying now? How will I get referrals? I just moved in. I just got here. I'm not even in Canada yet. How am I going to have someone who will refer me? But you know that life is like a circle, right? There's someone that might know someone, that might know somebody, that might know somebody, right? So you might not know anyone, but you might know someone that will know somebody, right? So referrals really, really, and I know you might have heard this, but if you haven't, referrals go a long way here in Canada. Because what happens is, if I work in company A, and you are applying to company A, I am able to refer you for the role in company A, and you would use a special referral link to the application, and which kind of like gives your application an advantage. Now, every company is looking for a certain kind of culture. They want certain candidates. They also, appreciate their people. So they they believe that they have the right kind of people who will be able to make the right kind of recommendations of similar minds as themselves to come work for the companies. So that's why that happens, right? Which gives an edge. If it was you as well, if you have someone who's been working in your company for like the past 5 years and you really love their work ethics, I'm sure if you wanted to recruit, you probably tell them same, right? Like, oh, do you have someone like you that we could interview? It's just part of the process. They would also still go through the interview process. So referral is important. Now, one of the things we need, I won't just say things, I will also tell you the how. Do you know that there are very simple hacks as well that can help you with referrals? How do you mean? Because if literally you are very new in Canada, you might not know anyone, right? Of course, you might go to church, you might go to, like worship centers. So let me not personalize it for just churches, but it could be worship centers. There could be like games. There could be, whatever it is. You go to community centers or maybe in the schools or whatever it is, where you're able to connect with people, but at the same time, you're sleeping on LinkedIn. Now, practical example, if I'm going to apply for a role, I see a role, the first thing I do is I go straight to LinkedIn and check if I have anyone within my network that works in that business. Even if I don't have anyone within my network that works there, is there someone within my network that knows somebody? I'll give an example. There was a time I wanted to apply for a role. I found someone, I wanted to be referred for it. Who was working there? I didn't know her. And you can also check, is the person Nigerian? If you're Nigerian, if you're Indian, if you're Chinese or wherever you're from, is there someone from your place that works there? You don't even have to know the person. So I found someone who was Nigerian working there, but I didn't know her. However, she once worked in a multinational back in Nigeria where I had mutual friends. So I reached out to all the mutual friends I had to be like, oh, hey, do you know X? Do you know X? Do you know X? Do you know X? Of course, I got like 2-3 people that knew her and I told them to reach out. So imagine when, and that's why you have to have good character. You have to be a good person. You have to be a nice person because, that's where that came into play, right? So imagine where 3 different people who I believe she also has like mutual respect for is reaching out to her to say, hey, I know Ejiro. Oh, I know Ejiro, blah, 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 blah. So it also builds, right, the confidence in which she would want to refer. And I know people have also had like terrible experiences. I've had people say, I will not refer anyone, right? That's the story for another day. But, and when she reached out, when I finally got through to her and reached out to her, she did give me an advice. I didn't apply for the role because she already told me it had been filled. Right, so I didn't, but I'm just saying that is like an avenue, opportunities of where you could, break through on that. So referrals and networks go a long, long way. And lastly, now, babe, what are you waiting for? Apply immediately. Now you've checked all the boxes, you've prepared your resume, you've gotten the job alert. Hey, you got a referral. Ooh, you didn't get a referral. It's not the end of the road. Go ahead and apply. I always tell people it's just one, max, maybe 2 offers for flex, right? But it's just one job you're going to do, right? It's one. So yeah, maybe you get a no today. You're probably going to get a yes tomorrow. Not even probably. You will get a yes tomorrow, right? So just apply. Don't waste that time. Don't waste the opportunity. Do not procrastinate because you don't know if that's probably, the posting is only going to be up for 2 days or the posting is only going to be up for 3 days, right? So apply immediately. Apply immediately. I cannot overstress this. And a bonus point because I want to wrap up. A bonus point. Know this. In fact, very, very important bonus point. I hope you know that there's what is called external candidates, which is what we are because, we're outside, we don't have a job, we're looking for a job, we're in the job market, we're all external candidates. I hope you know that there are internal candidates. Yes. So there are people internally in that organization that are probably, have the right skills, are interested in that role, also want to change, also want that role because they feel like it to give them maybe a better pay, better exposure, better opportunity. So they want it. And you know what? They always know before you. that role will be available, because they probably knew who was promoted out of that role, right? Or maybe they know that someone is going on maternity leave, or they know that someone just quit or resigned, so that role is up and open. So they are only just waiting for it to be officially posted so they can apply internally. Even some businesses actually give opportunity to internal candidates to apply first, yes, before they throw it open to the external candidates. So you, Philomena, I just sounded like a proco doctor now. But you are waiting. I don't think my resume is right. Just go ahead and apply. So I hope all of these tips have been very, very helpful for you guys. What are you waiting for? Apply today, and please follow my channel, Evie the Brand Chic. It was nice talking to you guys. I can't wait to share more of my learnings, more of how I've been navigating this journey. Bye guys.